So if you own a 14 to 18 5.3 liter powered Silverado or Sierra and you're looking for hands down the most affordable way to upgrade your factory intake system in order to get some more low and mid-range power out of your truck, then you should be checking out the Airaid Modular intake tube. If you're not quite sold on this, go ahead and take a look at our dyno runs. We went ahead and we ran our truck on the dyno bone stock and it made 277 horsepower and 290 pound-feet of torque. We then installed the Airaid Modular intake tube. We did not tune our truck or add any other supporting mods, and our truck ended up making 275 horsepower and 290 pound-feet of torque. Well, that doesn't make for any peak gains, you might be wondering. Obviously, that is the case. However, what's important here are the curve gains. The curve gains are what you're gonna feel as you go from idle to redline, and our truck actually made curve gains of up to 28 horsepower and 45 pound-feet of torque. Again, those curve gains are nice because that's actually what you're gonna feel when you're mashing on the throttle at the green light and when you're driving around in general. And again, we did not tune our truck and we just replaced the factory intake tube. We did not upgrade the filter itself nor the air box. Now, besides the fact that this is the most affordable option, you might be wondering why not invest in an entire intake system to begin with. Well, a lot of those systems are a little bit more involved in. Obviously, they're more expensive. I also like this intake tube in particular because it's probably the easiest mod you can install on your truck short of something like an accessory inside the cab. It should not take you more than 30 minutes to get this installed, and for that reason, I'm gonna give the install very easy, 1 out of 3 wrenches on my patented difficulty meter. You literally only need a couple of sockets and a hand ratchet. So again, if you're looking for the most affordable intake upgrade for your Silverado or Sierra and you want some good low to mid-range power, go ahead and stick around. I'm gonna show you guys what exact tools you need in just a second, and then I'll walk you through the entire install step by step. All right, to install your new intake, you're gonna need a standard drive ratchet and an 8mm socket. Optional but helpful tools include a long extension, a 7/8 wrench, and some spray lubricant. All right, so obviously we have to remove our factory intake tube before we throw our new tube on, right? And that's pretty straightforward. There's 2 band clamps holding the intake tube in place, one on the factory air box and one on the throttle body. All you're gonna need is that 8mm socket and your ratchet. It's also helpful to have an extension because those clamps are kind of tucked down in there. All right, now before you pull the factory air tube assembly out of the vehicle, you want to make sure you disconnect both of the breather hoses. That's for your crankcase blow-by. There's a little depression you can press underneath here and you can unclip them. All right, once you pull the air tube out, you can actually remove these breather hoses entirely. We're not reusing them. The kit does come with new hoses. So now that we have our factory tube removed, you can see how the Airaid tube is a pretty nice upgrade in terms of functionality and overall aesthetics. We're ditching this big ugly box here. This box is primarily responsible for capturing all that blow-by and putting it in the throttle body. That's not the case with the Airaid tube. They do provide new breather hose fittings and hoses themselves, but they just feed right into the tube itself. This reduces turbulence, and as you saw in the customer reviews, it might help with improving throttle response a little bit. I know it's just an intake tube. I'm not trying to sell you guys something crazy here, but that's definitely something to keep in mind. So without further ado, let's do some work on the table here. I'm gonna show you guys how to get this all set up before we can actually install it. All right, so now we got all that OEM junk out of the way. Let's go ahead and install the fittings for our breather hoses. Now the elbow-shaped fitting is gonna go on the bottom of the intake tube right here, and you might have noticed these are plastic threads going into plastic threads. So take your time here. You don't wanna strip them out or cause them to get too loose. You wanna hand tighten these. If you want some assistance, you can use a 7/8 wrench. Just keep in mind the threads may not go in all the way. You just want it tight enough that it's gonna stay snug and it's not gonna come loose. All right, now that we've got those fittings in place, we can install the clamps on our rubber couplers to secure them to the intake tube. Now for the air box side, you're gonna grab one of the medium-sized clamps in the kit, and for the throttle body side, you're gonna grab one of these slightly smaller size clamps in the kit. Now to tighten down this fastener, you're gonna need an 8mm socket. All right, so our intake tube is all set up. We can finally install it in the truck. You can leave the breather hoses and fittings aside for now. I'll show you guys how to do that in a moment. Go ahead and grab your 8mm socket and the remaining clamps in the kit. Go ahead and get this guy tightened down. Now when you go to slide these rubber couplers on the intake tube in place, it's helpful to actually have a spray lubricant like PB Blaster. Go ahead and spray the throttle body down as well as the airbox. It'll make it a lot easier to get this installed. All right, now that you have your intake tube tightened down, you can install the fittings for your breather hoses on either head. The short tube is going to go on the passenger side and the long tube goes on the driver's side. All right, so once you got your breather hoses installed, that'll actually wrap up this entire install. And that also wraps up my review of the Airaid Modular intake tube, fitting your 1418 5.3-liter powered Silverado and Sierra. I'm Travis, thanks for watching, and for all things Silverado and Sierra, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.